本当の僕を知らない奴に何を言われても構わないけど君を傷つける全ては許さない Just keep comes alive decide
Shalom and good day all, this is Healing29 back again for another anime review, and for this anime review I'll be covering episodes 11 and 12 of Blue Exorcist Season 3. I will be covering another video after this one, and that will be my overall review of this season. But until then, let's move into this main video, which is going to be covering episodes 11 and 12. Now, for the title of episode 11, it is called Pink Spider, to which we get the synopsis of Izumo and the rest of the team succeed at thwarting the threat of the Illuminati with the whatever else additional that's mentioned in the synopsis. Sorry, I'm unable to give it to you because of the way Crunchyroll delivers it on some apps. For example, consoles. I think it could be well presented or better presented. And then there's episode 12, which is called Hidden True Feelings, to which the synopsis it gives is Shima returns home despite everyone thinking he had severed ties, and Lewin Lightning questions his peers, or I think it's got to do with questioning his peers. So when I move on to episode 11 and 12, I'll be reviewing these two differently within this particular video. So yes, you will hear the audio of when I talk about sort of like the first 10 minutes. That will happen in episode 11, and then the finishing off time amount for episode 11. So once I get started, which you'll soon know, but when it comes to moving into episode 12, I'll be covering them in 5-minute intervals, or 5 to 7 intervals. So let's get started on episode 11, Pink Spider. So after watching through the first 10 minutes of episode 11, the XYs finally learn that Shima is a double agent who's working for the True Cross Academy, and in this we also get a bit of a flashback of sorts, which connects to Shima and Mephisto, to which Mephisto asks sort of like his parents and that, and knows of his family members, like where he came from, to be a agent for them. And we then realize that whilst this talk is happening in the flashback, that Shima is actually listening in, which is really absolutely funny. So we do end up getting quite a bit of material there, as we get to see the XY's reaction as they learn about this in regards to Shima, and yes, that he is a double agent, if not maybe even triple, in a sort of way. Not long after this, we do return back to the True Cross Academy after sort of like the turn of the events, and after they've learned the truth about Shima's predicament, and also in a way sort of like wanting to protect the fact that he's an agent. But when they do enter back into cram school, we have a bit of a funny scenario to which Rin Okamura comes into the classroom, and here he is wearing a pink wig pretending to be Renzo Shima, until of course the real Renzo Shima walks into the room, realizes that Rin has put on a wig to try to confuse people, but also trying to sort of like cheer up the situation in a way. We have Yukio then come back into sort of like the area of the XYs back into the classroom as well to give them their next lot of lessons. And this is where Yukio sort of expresses that, he thought it might have been another test again in regards to what was happening with Shima. So I'll watch through the last remaining time, and I'll talk about what happens in the last part of this particular episode. So as the rest of the time limit is used up within the episode, there was actually something that I did forget in the earlier part that I covered, is that King Godoy does end up meeting up with Lucifer, the character of Lucifer in the series, and not long after that he goes bye-bye. As we move into the second part of sort of like the remaining time of this episode, we end up having, of course, members of the XYs having a go at Shima after he's turned up in the classroom, only for Mephisto, Samael, to turn up in the classroom, taking everyone to his office and talking to them about whether they actually trust Shima. And of course, Rin brings up the obvious, to which he shows that he doesn't actually trust Mephisto that much, and there are, of course, a couple of others that also agree with him. To which, in this, it sort of gives Mephisto time to give his stance as to what he's doing, as he's trying to outwit Lucifer in this particular arc of the Illuminati arc. And not long after that, or whilst they're in the office, they meet up with the character of Lewin Light, to which we will get to see a little bit more of that character of Lewin Light in maybe upcoming episodes, or, well, some even good news, which I'll be talking about in my review of the overall series. So I'll just leave it for that right now. To which, after the events that take place in episode 11, we have Renzo Shima addressing Yukio, sort of like after they've had their meeting with Mephisto, and the rest of the XYs are sort of like out of his office at the True Cross Academy. To which Renzo brings up that he knows that he met the character of Lucifer. Now, this is also something that is sort of like brought over from season 1, sort of like at the end of season 1, but it's also a part of the manga. But in season 1, it was sort of like done differently as to how it was set up. But in the manga, you actually do get to see how things take place and set out. So now it's time to move into episode 12. To which, with episode 12, I'll be covering it sort of like every 5 to 7 minutes and until the end of the episode. So as we start to move into the first 7 minutes of episode 11, we do end up seeing things continue where they left off at the end of episode 12, I mean. We do see things where they left off from episode 11 coming to episode 12, to which not long after they end up leaving the office of Mephisto, there is a bit of talk amongst the XYs as to whether they should still trust Shima or not. We have Suguro still sort of like a bit unsure, but he only sort of like put it on for show in regards to sort of like Lewin Light. With that, we get to see that Koneko Maru is sort of like still thinking about it, and we get to see them to move along and sort of like talk things over. Whilst this is occurring, we get to see Rin Okamura with Shimi and Izumo as they get to talk together about the situation. We don't get to see much of Takara in regards to this. Whilst this, as we start to move out of that and back to the character of Renzo Shima and Yukio Okamura, we learn that Renzo Shima has a message from Lucifer for Yukio Okamura, and we get a bit of a flashback in regards to the situation, which connects to Yukio Okamura, who meets with the character of Lucifer, to which Lucifer actually ends up seeing that there is actually something in relation to a dormant power that is connected to him and his eyes. We don't know the full power and how it actually completely works yet in regards to this, even though this is something that's sort of like come over from season 1, not so much addressed in season 2, but it is actually revisited again in this particular season. Then not long after that talk, Renzo Shima walks away, only to sort of like continue things back at the True Cross Academy cram school and whatever else he needs to do. And as he moves away, we get to see the shock in Yukio Okamura's face. So now it's time for me to watch the next 7 minutes. So as we move into the next 7 minutes of episode 12, we end up seeing Renzo Shima try to catch up with Suguro and talk to him about matters of him sort of like being a spy. And of course, Suguro shows and brings across that he's not really happy with him being a spy. But he still wishes him sort of like good luck on his job. As things move along, we end up catching up with Yukio Okamura, who ends up catching up with Rin Okamura in their room for a little while. Not long after that, Yukio catches up with Shura, to which Shura is sort of like invited to sort of like go to a hot spa resort, and she mentions if any person who needs more time to sort of like sit back and relax, it's him. And in that, she's absolutely correct, because if it's one thing that Yukio Okamura does, he does put a lot of weight on his shoulders when sometimes he does need to relax and calm down. But he's still sort of focused on things around what happened in regards to the talk, but this is sort of like a place to which he can start to relax and calm down a bit. They do end up heading out to the resort, to which many of the XYs are there, to which Suguro brings up to Renzo Shima to find out if he's spoken to Koneko Maru, to which we get to see a little bit of a flashback of sorts in regards to Renzo Shima and Koneko. We do get to see Takara at the resort as well, with many of the members of the XYs who are participating in this. Now it's sort of like time to stop here, and for me to watch the last remaining time in regards to this. So as we start to reach the end of this particular episode of episode 12, we end up seeing the like some demon type monkeys, which cover something in sort of like a Buddhist type tradition. Hear no evil, see no evil, say no evil. And these, we do learn that these have been sent in through Mephisto. And during this time, we end up having Yukio run off and try to sort of like stop the events in regards to what happened at the resort. We do end up seeing a conversation take place between Suguro and Miwa as well with Yukio in this particular time period, to which not long after this, we do get a finishing of events, and we do sort of get a bit of a teasing for what will be coming into maybe the possibility of another season of Blue Exorcist, which will be really good. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be around then. I really hope I am, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what occurs. So, as this episode finishes off, it's really nice to see Rin catch up with his brother, sort of like after the time of events of spending time in the resort. And, of course, he ends up giving him a popsicle, which reminds me very much of someone else who receives a popsicle or a bit of a treat from another certain person from another certain anime plus manga, being Naruto, to which we have, I guess, a bit of a homage of sorts. But in this particular case, it's done to sort of like remind them of their old man Fujimoto, who used to look after them. And as Rin is talking to Yukio, he realizes that he's sort of like been feeling a little bit off. He's not been quite himself lately. And even though Yukio himself, he feels like it's a bit of a weakness, when in reality he should actually really be talking to his brother about the issue. But overall, I have actually quite enjoyed this particular season so far. So jumping into my afterthoughts in regards to episodes 11 and 12, I must admit it was really nice to sort of like see an end of the turn of the events after the rescuing of her, and also with her learning the truth about what has happened to her sister. As things continue, it is literally setting us up for the next arc that will take place within this Illuminati arc. And that can definitely be seen. There is actually a lot of manga-related content here, which is quite well done, even in regards to Renzo Shima being a double agent of sorts, almost triple agent. And it's nice to see how the characters brought it across. And so now it's time to move on to the area of the next thing, and that is the rating. So for these two episodes, starting off with the area of the main characters, which would probably be the characters of maybe Yukio and Renzo Shima, but we still know that Rin and Yukio, the key twins, are sort of like the main characters to the series. For this, I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10, as I've really thought they brought it across quite well of what the manga had sort of like done in this particular area. The supporting characters, so basically the rest sort of like under this, consisting of the XYs as well as the supporting, the key supporting cast, such as the teachers and whoever else that were introduced into this episode. For this, I give an 8 out of 10. Jumping into the area of the soundtrack, I give an 8.5 out of 10, as I've really quite enjoyed the soundtrack for this. Next area is the animation, to which I give an 8 out of 10. And last but not least, the story elements of these two episodes, I give an 8.5 out of 10. So until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day. And stay tuned for the next video, which will be covering the overall talk about each and every, a big talk about season 3, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, how I thought the characters stood up compared to the manga and the anime. You'll soon see that in the next upcoming video covering Blue Exorcist season 3, being the overall review. So until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.
本当の僕を知らない奴に何を言われても構わないけど君を傷つける全ては許さない say You're sad 止まらない距離感と日々 Get try 絶対誰かが描いた君どこを探したってそれはいないもうだいぶ心はもう思い通り動かないとも他の人と違うとこも近頃は扱い慣れてきた頃本当の僕を知らない奴に何を言われても構わないけど君を傷つける全ては許さない遥か遠くで誰かが君の見方を間違えた時さえそうな